Here to discuss the incoming Border Czar and a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Tom Homan. Sir, great to have you back with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And congratulations on getting this gig. You're absolutely the right guy for it. Everybody thinks so. When you hear that, Tom Homan, when you hear Democrat governors already saying they're not going to work with you to get illegals out of the country, what's your reaction?
They can get out of the way because we're going to do it. It just shocks me that any elected official, any governor or mayor or whatever, elected by the people, don't want safer communities. Look, the President Trump has been clear on this. The priority is going to be national security threats and public safety threats. What mayor or governor does not want public safety threats removed from the community, for God's sakes? What governor or mayor don't want national security threats removed? That is a priority. Now, I'm not saying everybody else is off the table. I'm not saying that, but the priority is clear. And look, he says that, look, how dare I enforce the law? You know, for God's sake, where are we at in this country where I'm a bad guy for enforcing the law? Steve Miller's a bad guy. We want to enforce the law. These laws were written by Congress, enacted by Congress, and signed by a president, and we're going to enforce them. And there's not a mayor or governor that's going to stop us from doing it. I wish they'd help us, because if we can arrest a bad guy in a jail, and they won't let us into jails, that would prevent me from going to the neighborhoods. Look, more guys in the jail means less people in the neighborhood. That don't make sense, and then I don't have to tell them. But if they're not going to help, get the hell out of the way, because we're coming.
I've noticed that even during the Biden era, Immigration and Customs Enforcement keeps putting out statements that their own administration doesn't pay attention to, where they declare that once again some locality is refusing to work with them, and all they're trying to do is get criminals out of the country. What kind of attitude change, what kind of morale change is coming for ICE with President Trump and coming back into office, and with you being the Border Czar?
I know that Bill Maloof, Fox News, just sent something out 2 days ago saying the morale has already skyrocketed because they know they got a president that's going to let them do their job. They got a guy in me. I'm not going to blow smoke and praise myself, but I was a Border Patrol agent. I wore that uniform. I know their job. I know their struggles. I was an ICE agent. I'm the first director of ICE who actually came up through the ranks. So the 20,000 men and women that reported to me, I never told them to do anything. I didn't do myself because I was one of them. I know the job. So I think they're really happy that President Trump's going to come back, take the handcuffs off them, and put the handcuffs on the bad guy.
Today, President Trump announced that South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is going to be the head of the Department of Homeland Security. And obviously, that's the agency under which so many of these border enforcement agencies fall. Inside of that statement, I noticed that President Trump referenced you a lot, meaning that Kristi Noem is going to work directly with you quite a bit. Can you give us a sense of what that arrangement looks like, and what does a real Border Czar do? Where do you fit in the pecking order?
I report directly to the president, so I'll be creating policies and so forth to pass down to the agencies. I work very closely with Kristi Noem. I've already spoke to her several times. And look, a DHS secretary is a big job. I think she'll do well. But immigration, that is a subject of its own that's going to require a lot of attention. That's President Trump's number one campaign issue. So they got me. I'm going to spend 100% time on that. That gives her a little bit of relief, even though she's going to be involved in immigration. Look, she also have FEMA. We know FEMA's broke. She's also going to have the Secret Service. That needs to be overhauled. So she's got a lot on her plate. So I'm happy to at least help her with the immigration strategy. And so I'll be working in the White House. I'm like a senior policy advisor working straight for the president. Me and Kristi will be hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder, make sure we secure that border and run a humane deportation operation that must happen.
So the agencies, does she report to you, or is it the immigration agencies that'll be reporting to you, Tom Homan, as you get underway?
No, the immigration agencies report to Kristi Noem.
Okay.
And I report to the president. Me and Kristi Noem be hip to hip. The reason we came up with Border Czar is for a couple of reasons. Look, a lot of people touch the border. DOD has stuff on the border. DOJ has stuff on the border. DHS has stuff on the border. HHS with the children has stuff on the border. Immigration courts have stuff on the border. You got all these different stovepipes coming to the White House with border issues. All these stovepipes will come to one stovepipe that the president can deal with.
Yes.
That stovepipe is me.
How important is it that Stephen Miller is also going to be working alongside you now as the Deputy Chief of Staff in the White House there?
Like him or love him, Steve Miller is brilliant. I mean, he helped President Trump create the most secure border in my lifetime. I've been doing this since 1984, and President Trump's success on the border was unprecedented. So I am grateful Steve Miller's there because he was the architect of a lot of the successful policies under Trump, and I'm looking forward to working with him.
As we triage the way you're going to approach the biggest deportation operation in American history, you've talked quite a bit about how you're going to start. You want to go after the threats to the communities, specifically the national security threats, the violent threats to the communities. Can you take us through kind of what do those first 100 days look like as you approach this very big issue that's become even bigger under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Well, again, there's plenty of illegal aliens in this country with criminal convictions. Under the first Trump administration, when I was ICE director, 91% of everybody we arrested under the Trump administration was either a convicted criminal, pending criminal charges, which means we found them in jail, or they were fugitives, which means they had due process at great taxpayer expense. They were ordered deported and refused to leave and became a fugitive. So 91% of everybody arrested was a criminal or fugitive. And basically, it's going to be the same thing under President Trump. That's going to be our same priorities: criminals and national security threats and fugitives. But I'll make it clear: being in the country illegally is not okay. You don't have to commit a crime. Nothing in the Immigration Nationality Act says you have to commit a crime in addition to being an illegal alien to have immigration law enforced against you. Here's the issue people need to understand: we can't have millions of people coming to our border, claiming asylum, demanding to see a judge, and we do that. They have that right. So, yeah, we'll give them their due process. We'll take their case and we'll give it to a judge and we'll go through that whole process. But due process doesn't mean squat if at the end of that process a judge orders you to be deported and you don't leave. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't execute those final orders, what the hell are we doing? Might as well just shut down the immigration court. It doesn't mean anything anymore. You might as well take the border patrol off the border because there is no consequence for entering this country illegally, which is a crime. You can't demand due process and not agree to the final decision of the court is only carried out. I've asked Congress numerous times when Secretary Marks is testifying and he talks about the prioritization of criminals and those that don't qualify be immediately removed. The follow-up question should always be, okay, so the ones that are already deported, do you agree they need to be removed? Because if he says no, then he's not doing his job, not opening his, abiding by his oath. There's a system of laws here. And look, if the only other option is don't remove them, let them all go. And that's never going to fix the border. That would be a major magnet, a major enticement to come to the United States. So we just sent a message. You can enter the country illegally, which is a crime. You can ask to see a judge and lose your case, or not show up in court and lose your case. But you don't have to leave because it's sad or it's unfortunate. No, we got to enforce the law. And I'm sick and tired of the left and these mayors and governors. They want to shame this administration. All we want to do is enforce the law.
Yes. There was some staggering numbers, a lot of staggering numbers related to illegal immigration. But back in September, so many Americans were really stunned by a release by Immigration and Customs Enforcement that there are over 13,000 convicted murderers among the illegals who've been released into the country and nearly 16,000 illegals who've been convicted of rape. How important is that list as you begin this effort to look for people who need to be ejected immediately?
There's a lot of lists that are important to us. That's probably one of the most important ones. We also got to get together with the FBI and find out what information they have on people that may be on terrorist watch lists that are in the country. But yeah, we need to look at that data very closely. Another piece of data I want to look at is because we got over 300,000 missing children in this country. Over 300,000 children were trafficked into this country and released to unvetted sponsors, and the government can't find them. So I guarantee you, after 3.5 decades, some of these children are forced labor. Matter of fact, we already found some in forced labor. Some are going to be in sex trafficking. Some are living with pedophiles. Some of these children are living a life of hell. So we also got to grab data from HHS, find out where these children are, and save them.
Well, forced labor is modern-day slavery here in the United States of America, inside of our borders.
It absolutely is. And remember, the Biden administration stopped worksite enforcement. Worksite enforcement, if people want to talk about worksite raids, you can't go back to that. Look, they need to know worksite enforcement is where we find a lot of victims of trafficking, especially in large factories or massage parlors where women are forced into prostitution. Worksite enforcement is going to rescue a lot of traffic victims. Plus, look, it's not okay to hire an illegal alien. It's not okay to hire an illegal alien at lower cost, undercut your competition, has U.S. citizen employees. And I know personally about this because I had some work done at my house. I had to call 5 different companies before I got a company that guaranteed me a legal workforce. And a father and son showed up, and they wanted to do the job. It was too big for them. I said, well, this is way too big for you. And he said, well, I just wanted to see if we could fix it because I used to have 20 U.S. citizen employees did this work, but I couldn't compete with all these companies hiring illegal aliens. So I was paying my guys $20 an hour. They pay their people $7 an hour. So they're winning bids. Right? And that's winning bids. Right? To lay off 20 U.S. citizen employees. That happens 1,000 times across this country. So worksite enforcement is important for 2 reasons. They undercut the competition that has U.S. citizen employees, and they drive wages down. And number 2, it's a place where we find a lot of victims of trafficking.
How quickly are you going to ramp that up? I wanted to ask you about that because that is the key element here. Because people look at our immigration system sometimes and they say, "Why is it so broken?" And much of it is because of what you just described. We have business interests in the United States who are taking advantage of foreign labor in this way and using an illegal system to do it. It sounds like you're going to get aggressive on site enforcement. How much more aggressive will you be?
Well, we're starting at zero because this administration isn't doing it. So we got to do it again for trafficking and look, and we're going to enforce the law, and that's a part of it. So I've done worksite enforcement. I did it as agent. I did numerous worksite investigations, and it's not okay to hire illegal aliens. It's against the law. We really need to get E-Verify in place, and that's something the Congress has to do. And look, all these things, the executive orders President Trump's going to issue, yeah, they're necessary to secure this border and do our job, but Congress needs really give a permanent fix. So the next president, the next Democrat president comes in, doesn't do what Biden did and destroys everything we did to give us a more secure border. Congress needs to do their job. They need to change the asylum laws. They need to change the Florida settlement agreement so we can detain families in a residential center and not have to release them to not show up in court. We need to change the Trafficking Victims Protection Act so kids from Mexico, if they're not victims of trafficking, they can be returned right away. But if you're a child from any other country, you can't be returned right away. You get a whole system that takes years, and they never go. Which is again another enticement for more children to put more parents put their children in the arms of criminal cartels across that border. We need those 3 things alone would take 85% of the problem of border away. And so Congress needs to get off their butts and do the right thing too.
Tom Homan, finally on that issue, do you plan on being involved in a legislative process at the beginning of this administration? Will you be presenting legislation to Congress like this?
I don't know, but I hope so, because I think the President Trump, look, he gave them a great immigration plan his first administration, where we're talking about, let's stop the visa lottery, let's actually do it based on merit. He had a plan for DACA, take care of DACA, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer shut it down because involved in that was some border wall funding. So I'm sure Trump's going to give him an immigration plan that's going to address the same things. We got to fix the system, but we're not going to wait for Congress to do it. The southwest border is the biggest national security vulnerability this country ever has. They arrested just shy of 300 people on terrorist watches. That's who they arrested. But they got over 2 million gotaways. 2 million people paid more to get away because they didn't want to be vetted, didn't want to be fingerprinted. How many of them come from the country sponsoring terror? And even the FBI director, Christopher Wray, has said numerous times the southwest border is an extreme vulnerability to terrorism, and there's more red flags now he's ever seen. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. Everybody should agree the secure border is necessary. You can't have national security if you don't have border security.
Yeah, and China's running a chemical warfare operation across that open border right now, too. We have a lot more to talk about in the future. I hope we get a chance to. Please don't be a stranger. Tom Homan, the incoming Border Czar. Thank you, sir, for your time today.